Certainly a very warm welcome from our side, from the Presidential Board and myself. Welcome to this conference on plants and animals, bridging the gap in breeding research, and, as you all know, the opening of the CiBreed Center, the Center for Integrated Breeding Research. And the building you are in here today belongs, as you have seen in the program, to the old university library, and it's part of the original building complex where the university had its foundation in 1737 at the Paulinerkirche, which you see over there if you look out on the other side. And I think it's a suitable room, a place for your conference. And also I think I have to remind you to the motto on the foundation medal, which had the inscription, "For the good of all." And I think what you are doing and what you are discussing here is in the end for the good of all. So I think that is a good place to have this conference. And I have to say that we are proud to have one of the best faculties of agricultural sciences in Germany here, and that on the other side, today's guest list shows that our agricultural sciences are part of an active international scientific network. That's why you are all here. And in this way, I think that the faculty is well known far beyond the borders of Lower Saxony and Germany. But coming back to Lower Saxony, it is an agricultural state. And therefore, the faculty has a special scientific but also political role in this state here, which we are very much aware of. Hence, the cooperation between science and agricultural businesses, so-called public-private partnership, has a long tradition here. And personally, I greatly appreciate these cooperations, which are very helpful and innovative for us as a university. And today, I'm also glad that the faculty and the companies manage these cooperations by the way of example, to keep freedom of research and at the same time allow successful transfer into the agricultural world, so to say, or to transfer the agricultural knowledge. I think that is a very good way to handle those cooperations. And at this point, I would like to thank especially the 5 regional companies supporting this new Center of Integrated Breeding Research. And they are Böhm Nordkartoffel, so I say the German words, the German Seed Alliance, KWS Saat or KWS Saat, Lohmann Tierzucht GmbH und Strube Research. I hope that this was correct. And I'm very grateful because this long-term cooperation not only now came to this center, but there are a lot of other points where we work together. The development of CiBreed is based on the cooperations with those companies, and on the other side, it is an interdisciplinary expertise in breeding, which is here located in Göttingen, on the Göttingen campus, which is the second part of the story. And this will allow us to really work on the integration of innovative research questions and methods. And most importantly, I think it is also an innovation in the field of data science, because this is the background of all the scientific endeavors today. And the university is trying to set up a data science center, which will support not only this center, but the whole university. Being a biochemist and biologist myself, I am particularly excited about the fact that CiBreed is combining research in breeding plants and animals. This integrated approach allows synergies for an efficient development of new methods and its wide application. It also combines natural and social sciences, considering aspects like sustainability, economic efficiency, and consumer acceptance. The center will support Göttingen's reputation in breeding science in particular, and in agricultural science in general. Not only in research, but also in research-oriented teaching. Teaching the next generation is an important task, as much as a support for early career scientists who will be leaders in science and economy tomorrow. It's our privilege of a university to educate and foster the young people in their careers, and I'm absolutely convinced that this center will also contribute to not only teaching but also for the support of postdocs and early career scientists. And certainly I would like to thank all involved scientists. First of all, Professor Simiana, as the founding director of the center, for the dedication to CiBreed and for setting it up. I think I know quite well that it wasn't that easy, but I'm very happy to be here today and to open this conference and open this center formally with this particular act here. And for my part, I can say that the presidential board supports the center and all the activities which are around it, and there's quite a few things which we have in front of us. And I think that you are doing certainly very stimulating research in the future in this integrated approach. And I'm also very glad that in the last months we were able to attract a number of highly motivated new colleagues for the topic of the center and for the center in a way. And I want to give a special welcome today to the professors Timothy Preisinger, Stefan Scholten, and Niels Stein. Some of them I see here, and there are so many I can't see them all, but a very warm welcome. Niels Stein in particular has a double appointment at Gartersleben and Göttingen, and I'm very happy that we have this new connection as well, and hopefully find a long-term partner with the Institute, Leibniz Institute in Gartersleben. So, I think that is all I want to say today, because it's actually not for me that you came here, but for science. And I hope that you enjoy very much the time you have here, the discussions, and that you give your good spirit on the way for the CiBreed. And then maybe I see some of you in the next conference you held in Göttingen. Thank you very much.
For me to welcome you all for, let's call it, the kick-off meeting of CiBreed. And during my greetings, I paid for the ticket, as you can see, from the sponsors. I can give you some inside knowledge from the animal breeding side. I would like to tell you why we are highly motivated to support this network, and we are very confident that we have to join our forces. And Henna Semiana mentioned it. In CiBreed, we started the process, and I think it's really a good opportunity to join the forces from animal breeding and plant breeding. And I think we have really common targets. A sentence we forget more and more in Germany here is, and I'm working for a global company, we have to feed a growing human population, and there is no doubt that we have to produce more food. And plant and animal breeding are playing a major role. So, and as Henna Simiana also mentioned, we have to focus on a kind of a balanced selection. And especially in animal breeding, we rely on the data quality. We have to record new phenotypes because we are challenged to take care of other additional traits. We have a huge amount of genomic data now available. And we have to improve the quality of bioinformatics. So I would like to summarize and say a smart combination of genomics and phenotypic data is the key. We have to select the best individuals, reproduce them, and we have to adapt the performance profile. So we have to define future targets, and those targets for sure are significantly different from targets in the past. We have some challenges in farm animal production. Despite the future genetic progress you will hear in plant breeding, I believe the feed price will stay high and it will even further go up. But on the other hand, retailers like to differentiate themselves by special welfare and production criteria. Just a small comment. The big retailers have signed new contracts for the egg price for the next calendar year, 2019. Exactly during a time where everybody was aware that the feed price will go up. They will pay less per egg after January 1st to the farmers, and they insist on much more welfare, where everybody knows additional exercise is increasing maintenance requirement. The chickens have to eat 10 or 15% more when they exercise. So the feed price will go up, the chicken will need more feed, but the farmer will get a lower revenue. That's the reality. But nevertheless, animal welfare is gaining more importance and we have to take care of this. On the other hand, disease challenges are really increasing worldwide. It's not just chicken influenza, we have big issues in the swine production. And on the other hand, we have a lack of qualified farm personnel, and farms are getting larger, and if I travel outside of Europe, there is really limited biosecurity, so I see there will be a lot of disease challenge approaching farm animal production in the near future. And a special discussion here in Europe, we like to feed our animals with a local supply, and of course it should be GMO free, and in poultry especially, and for some milk producers, no soya anymore, because soya is a really bad word. So we have to breed animals which can resist the challenge with a shortage of amino acids or a shortage of crude protein. That's our focus. It has to be our focus. It will come. I hope we can postpone. But nevertheless, we will select for efficiency. It's the amount of feed you need per kilogram of food. We have to focus more on robustness. It's the health status of our farm animals. And we have to improve the lifetime performance, so we need less animals to produce the food we need. So I would like to give you just a short example where you can see synergy between plant breeding and animal breeding, and my special focus is egg production. And I raise a chart which gives you some idea what was the genetic improvement in feed efficiency. This is the amount of kilogram of feed you need to produce 1 kilogram of egg mass. So over a period of 25 years, we have reduced it by half a kilogram. But if you convert this to the world layer population, you save about 8 or 9 million of hectares of wheat worldwide. The numbers are much bigger on the broiler side. You can draw similar numbers on the ruminants, but those numbers I really can prove. And there is no doubt that this has contributed to affordable prices for high quality animal protein. On the other hand, every breeding company or every breeder has to define his breeding target, and we like to use a kind of an index. When I started several years ago, it was relatively easy. We have been selecting for higher egg numbers, a reasonable egg size, so it was milk yield or daily growth in broilers or in pigs. And of course, there was always a quality aspect. The major point is shell quality in eggs. And of course, we want to sell parent stocks. Our direct customer is buying seed stock or parent stock, so parent stock performance has been okay. Otherwise, you lose your customer. But in the meantime, We have added additional traits. Okay, livability was improved by better biosecurity, vaccination programs, better nutrition, and so on. But now we are forced to do it through genetics, and we have to focus a lot on behavioral traits. And in chickens getting now more space. In the Netherlands, the growth rate of broilers is limited to 50 gram per day. A normal broiler gains 60 to 70 gram a day. Nobody thought about 5 years ago that the Dutch would ever restrict the growth rate, but this is easy to be communicated to the consumer. If you work less, you live longer, you live happy, you enjoy your life. Easy message. So, and if chickens are not anymore in the cage, they have to find the nest box, because let's assume you all are chickens, and 10% of you drop the eggs somewhere in the barn. You need 2 employees to collect those eggs, and the employees will quit the job after 2 weeks because they feel really pain in the back. So it's a key trait. Nobody took care in the past, but if you don't have people anymore in the chicken house, you have to adjust. So I would summarize, selection goals do not have to be focused on the current needs, but we have to rather focus on global needs of the future. And I summarized it as a short sentence for a chicken, so I can convert it to a pig. A robust pig, no tail biting, a docile layer, with a stable feather cover, so I'm not a candidate. So if they go to free range, they have to keep the coat in the winter. They have to have strong bones. If you exercise too much skiing in Bavaria or in Switzerland, you will break your legs. So if you have stronger legs, you have a lower probability to get the damage. And, by the way, there is a fight in the calcium metabolism between shell strength and bone strength. So there is a science behind this issue. And a performance-based feed consumption. And, of course, you should work hard every day and place the egg into the nest box. So this is just a quick summary of the breeding target. So we have to focus on the total breeding value, which combines production, quality, and livability or longevity. Genomic selection has proven it contributes to more progress. We can select more accurate and we can select faster. Nevertheless, we are in competition. Every breeding company or organization has to set its own priorities. But I see a lot of synergy in basic and applied research, which will increase our knowledge. And as the final sentence, I would say, let us combine plant and animal breeding in order to educate young talents to breed better animals or adapted animals and plants for the future. Thank you very much.
I will now give a little bit more focus on the plant breeding issues, of course. Nevertheless, I want also to say it's a pleasure for me to give here some greeting words, especially since 38 years ago I started my studies here in Göttingen of agricultural science. 8 years later, I have my PhD thesis, now 30 years ago. And it's nice to see Professor Kobabe, to see you here in the audience and to show you what is going on in the university. And as already mentioned, yes, we were involved in the discussion since 6 years, how we can strengthen breeding research in Göttingen. And in the final, we get this constellation that we have the University of Göttingen and several private companies joining this activity, and this was already mentioned. I just want to add German Seed Alliance and is for shareholders, which are Deutsche Saatveredelung, Norddeutsche Pflanzenzucht, Saatzucht Nordsaat, and Saatzucht Saker or Solana Research, just to complement the picture. When we go for the plant breeding perspective, of course we have similar topics as in the animal breeding, but of course more than focused on the plants. It's clear the human population is growing, so the field area per human to do his nutrition is reducing further and further. We still have the problem we can grow a lot of things in the field, but we have damages in the field, and also when we have done the harvest, there are damages, and we have to find solutions. There are technical solutions, but there are also solutions by plant breeding. And the special issue, climate change, and when we look to this year, the hot weather, the low rainfall, hopefully an exceptional year for Europe, Central Europe, but I think we have to adapt to that also in the future. And this is a special objective, of course, for research and development, especially as when you look for the perspective that breeding a new variety usually takes 8 to 12 years. What are the goals driving us? And that is similar to the animals, but a little bit other, because we have to produce food, feed, so yield is the most important criterion since ever and also in the future. Quality things are important. More and more resistance and tolerances against pathogens and especially also abiotic stress factors is important. In general, we have to give each variety a good economical package. It must not be the full resistance, but a certain resistance. And we are dealing with limited resources. And the better the plant variety can efficiently use that, the better. We are using different methods and technologies. So starting with that, what is based on the Mendelian rules by crossing and selection. Hybrid breeding is already mentioned. Dihaploids have been mentioned, so any help we get from cell and tissue culture. Genetic engineering in the 90s was a big issue, but not for Europe. Therefore, DNA diagnostics were very helpful, which means markers which we can use, which technique has developed far more, so that we today talk about genome analysis. And when we go one step further, also this keyword was already mentioned, we are talking about new breeding methods, especially the people in the public talk about CRISPR-Cas, but there are several others. And here we get a clear statement that they have to be handled as GMO. So they have to we have to follow the GMO regulation when we are dealing with this kind of plants, which of course gets some additional efforts when we want to work with it. So we more and more will get a dividing of the world. Europe without GMOs, all around Europe with GMOs. If that really should be the future, politicians have to decide. I hope there's still some reasonable reasoning and some also people doing knowledge-based, know-how-based decisions that we can at least use part of these methods in the future. So what does it mean for the daily business of the breeder? We have the similar way, we have to generate variation by selection crossing pairings, by doing crossings, by doing testing over years, over locations for different traits. And when we have selected best variety candidates, go in the official variety testings and get for a certain percentage registration so that we can sell seeds or tubers or whatever vegetative material we will sell. In addition, we are using biotechnology methods. Tissue cultures are already mentioned. The gene technology was helpful to look for prototypes and was helpful outside Europe, but for Europe no longer, or only under some additional efforts. So in the 90s, the gene diagnostics and markers helped us to do so-called smart breeding. And the idea was when now the new breeding methods will enter the science and then also the private companies and the commercial breeding programs, they will give a real speed in the breeding work, but due to the European Court of Justice decision, we also have to make, for Europe at least, here concerning commercial products, a big red bar about that. For prototypes, okay, it may be helpful, but not for commercial use. So the challenge will be for the breeder also to breed and develop new varieties in the future. It's becoming more complex. We have to look for more traits, and we have to follow additional regulations, which finally will mean we have more cost. And the breeder's task objective is to realize nevertheless this by an effective selection, and that in the frame of a limited budget. So the breeder has also to look for optimization. And that's the point where then CiBreed also comes again in. What are the ideas we are looking for? This is not a complete list, this is just some examples. So we have to further on look for methods for generation of new genetic variability. We have to look for phenotyping methods for the description and evaluation of known visible traits, but also hidden traits. We have to look for cheap, efficient genotyping methods to identify genetic diversity already existing or being new. To handle all these, we are talking about big data. This keyword was already mentioned. And we have to develop biostatistical and bioinformatic tools to handle that. And we have to develop efficient breeding methods, and that as a result of the complementary use of modern breeding tools. That are some examples. CiBreed as an institutional private-public partnership activity offers for this diverse opportunities that could the evaluation and generation of scientific solutions, that could be joint projects, that's the exchange of knowledge, that's the teaching area in the direction of education and training, and of course it's the interdisciplinary approach where we are not only talking about animal breeding research and plant breeding research, but all the other things. You mentioned these two circles, which are important to make the best use of it. So, the private partners of CiBreed have already contributed significantly to the foundation of the center and are clearly committed to continue their support and make out of it a success story. And as a recommendation, we here as an audience and other people shall take in the future the opportunity to being part of this excellent cooperation network at the interface between university and seed industry. Thank you very much for your attention.